There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have two amazing guests. They are two of the funniest theater content creators out there. I've shared nearly every Cats meme that they have made and excited to talk about them with their parody of theater. So welcome, Will and Rachel, better known as the Theater Lovers on social media, and thank you for joining me.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
I am excited. I think I learned about you early on of doing this because people would send me your jokes, and all the time I'm just like, this is perfect. Like same thing. Like, why didn't I think of this? This is so funny, and it's been really fun to follow, and I love it because I'm constantly being like, oh, I get like you do sets of memes, and I'm like, I know this show. I get all these jokes. And then there's other times where I'm like, I don't even know what you're referencing. And I'm like, it looks funny. But I want to start kind of at the beginning of your content creation career. Like, how did you two decide to get in this and start making memes and build this following of theater content?
Sure. Well, I guess it goes back a little bit further than that, where so we're married. We're a married couple. We met each other in college in 2011.
Okay.
And we got cast in a two-person like student written one act. And we sat down for coffee to like get to know each other better. And like the rest is history. And there's a little bit more to it than that. Mm-hmm. But essentially we've been together for like 11 and a half years. Mm-hmm. And back in, I want to say like 2019.
2019 is when we officially started
the Theater Lovers.
But before that, we had maybe like couple years before, we were trying to figure out like what can we do that's like sharing all this theater knowledge we have. And we're like, is this a YouTube show? Is this like, how do we
translate these little jokes that we're making every morning over coffee? It was a lot of like while we were watching media, and this is still how we make a lot of our content, is like when we're watching, you know, our show together or whatever, pop culture, and we're like, oh, that's Sweeney Todd, or like, oh, that's Cats, or oh, that's, you know, XYZ, you could fill in the blank. And we were kind of sending each other jokes when we weren't around, and it was just sort of like, this is something, but what is it? So we kind of stumbled into memes because they're quick, and you know, if you don't get that one, there's another one coming right behind it. And like a lot of credit to Will, he's gotten so good at like the graphic design and like the creation of it. He's also like a big font nerd, so if you are a follower of ours and you haven't noticed, every single meme has a watermark of our name, and it is either in the font of the show or the font of like whatever we're referencing. That's like a little
Amazing.
Theater Lovers Easter egg. But yeah, so essentially we've been together a long time. We both studied theater. We've both done theater our entire lives. So we already had an incredible like wealth of knowledge in sort of like different pools of, you know, what we grow up consuming and studying. And then, you know, as a couple over time, we sort of have all of these intertwined references and jokes, and like it just sort of blossomed out of that. And it really is like a collaboration through and through. Mm-hmm. Almost everything that you see has both of our handprints on it, which is cool.
I love that. So you met acting, and then you studied theater, and then you're like, we're making these jokes just to each other, and it's like, but they're funny. Yeah. So more people need to hear them and see them, and then you've turned it into this like amazing platform of like consistent stuff. I want to hear a little bit about like so it's like, you did stuff with Succession and all these other kind of like current things. Is it just like, oh, that makes me think of this show and that's how we then create a series? Or are you thinking through a lot of those things of like, I think I saw, this will come out a couple weeks later, but I think recently I saw like Bob's Burgers or like some other shows, and it's like there's a theme usually. Like, is that pre-planned or is it just kind of on the fly?
A lot of it is on the fly. When I'm saving the images, I always make sure to have a lot of tags and name everything in very specific ways so that I have whatever the image is from, whatever show it's talking about, sometimes things that appear in the image, like if it's someone's wearing a hat, or like there's a dog in it, and they're that way I can pull together themes really quickly. And if it's like, oh, it's National Hat Day, so it's like, cool, let's just search hat, and I can take all of these images from the past that might involve that, throw them together as a carousel on Instagram, and the librarian brain in me has really come in handy for this.
I was literally just going to say, I don't know if you can tell, but Will's been a librarian. So he's so good. And I am so the opposite. I'm chaotic. I'm so chaotic. I'll see an image and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's this. And I'll text it to him. And then he does such a good job of being like, oh, that's also da 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 da, and like sort of be able to group things together. Sometimes it's like, we'll have a really good idea with one meme of a certain show. Like for the Bob's Burgers, for example, I can't remember like what was the one that like sort of, it was like the catalyst for the other ones, but it's like we'll have one and we're like, oh, like let's search other Bob's Burgers images and see what we can make. Something that's also a really helpful resource for any like meme makers out there are pages, like we take a lot of our Succession, for example. There's an Instagram called No Context Succession, where it's just like they take really distinct moments and sort of screen grab them. And then that's a lot easier for me to say like, okay, this is the moment where in the musical theater canon that exists in my mind does this fit? Like there was one recently that was like, can Pinky dance? And I was like, oh, Mr. Pinky from Hairspray. I was like, oh, can Mr. Pinky dance? Oh, okay. So like, we'll make something with that. It's like sort of like a reverse engineering, but it's the inspiration kind of comes from everywhere, and our brains work as parallel as we are. Our brains work in completely different ways. So it's fun in that sense. We are constantly coming up with stuff that the other person wouldn't necessarily think of, which is a lot of fun.
I like it. It's you created like the was it, we call it the Will decimal system. We've I love the organization of that, because like this is very much a side project for me. I don't have that at all, and I'm like scrolling through Twitter, and Twitter's feeding me those Succession moments, those other like screen grabs, but then it's like this is my moment to look at it, and then I think about it and make it super fast. And I think what I love about you all is you take it and you expand upon it and make it like a whole set and a whole theme. And then it's like very well curated and much higher quality than I think a lot of what you see out there, which is just like a quick, oh, here's my quick 30-second joke. But I also have a personal Twitter, and it's like all sports. And so it's like, I'm like, oh, the intersection of that trending sports thing right now to theater. I'm like, nope. That's not on the podcast Twitter account at all. It's not showing up on their page, which has made it kind of fun too.
So we contain multitudes.
Yeah. Is there anyone that like went super viral that you were not expecting?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think the first one that really surprised us about the reach that it had was maybe like March 2019. It was very early when we started. And it was, gosh, I can't think of his name. Are
you thinking
right behind Henry Cavill?
Yeah, Jason Momoa and Henry Cavill. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Sneaking up behind Henry Cavill, and we labeled that as Be More Chill sneaking up behind Dear Evan Hansen, because we were like, we think that this fan base is going to get pretty wild in advance of Be More Chill opening on Broadway. Yeah. And it really blew up in a way that it's still one of our best performing posts ever. And
wow.
But you compare that to other jokes where in that week where it was like, this got 20 likes.
Yeah. Our early stuff, it was a lot of trial and error, which I tell people who kind of ask like if they're interested in doing the same thing. It's like literally just make and put out as much stuff as humanly possible, because you don't know what's going to hit. And if you're putting stuff out at that kind of rate, it's not going to matter the stuff that doesn't. It's just learning what kind of, like spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah. Done is better than good sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's through finishing it. It's not necessarily the what you think of it. It's like it needs to be out there, and you need to feel the reaction. It's previews for a show.
Yeah, totally. And it's all about engagement. So it's like it doesn't have to be the most high produced thing. It's like if someone comments on it or it sparks the conversation. And I think like that's an interesting part I wanted to ask you about is as you shifted to like a different platform. So like you can make memes and throw them up on Instagram and Twitter pretty easily, but then you go to TikTok where you also have a following and you can't do that at all. I mean, it just doesn't land. So how do you think about all the different platforms that you're playing in and like, you know, the jokes may be similar, but you've got to create content for all these different styles.
Yeah, it's a different beast. I mean, I feel like most of our TikTok followers don't even know that we make memes on Instagram, which is crazy to me. It's like a totally different thing. I still feel like we're not good at TikTok. I don't know. It was just kind of finding a way to transfer those skills, but be more front facing, right? Because you can hide behind a meme and our faces aren't in it. But TikTok, it's like most of the time, unless you're using like templates and images, like you're the one lip syncing, you're the one like figuring out these sort of things. And that's been a lot of fun. The nice thing too is, especially when Instagram started transferring like a lot of their time and energy into reels, you could sort of do double duty. So it's like you make it on TikTok, you take a high quality screen grab without the watermark, which they've made very difficult, but still possible. You also post it on Instagram. Something very interesting that I've found is that something will blow up on TikTok, tank on Instagram, and vice versa. It's very, very rare that it does well on both platforms. And I don't know if that's their algorithms. I don't know if that's the audience. Like I call this phase of content creation the Wild West. There's no rhyme or reason. You just put it out there. You hope people like it. And I'm always amazed when, even like yourself, like reaching out to us, like and saying that you like the content. I'm always shocked. I'm like, I had no idea the reach. I don't know. It's such a wild time.
Yeah, it is so interesting because TikTok is a much more of like you need to be part of the video. Like you need to be part of it. And that's the challenge for me as someone who like basically doesn't like or need to be part of it. You know, like I don't need me on this, like because it's all about cats and I'm not in a cat's costume or
but
cosplayer.
You're the template king.
But I do love the templates.
You are the template. You do so well with all. I'm always impressed, and I'm always a little bit jealous. Like you come up with some really, really good stuff.
Templates are so fun for me because where I make memes and like I have a full-time job that's not related to theater, that's not related to this podcast, and it's not. You know, it's like everyone else. It's a demanding job that you have that takes a lot of your time and energy. And so I make these memes as I like use social media to take a break and just scroll through. And I'm like, that's a really funny template. And if it's a usable template, then it's like, okay, can I do it on my phone in about 5 or 10 minutes? And if I can, you see it. And that's why you see some are like really poorly done sometimes. And some are like kind of funny, but the picture, because I just have a saved set of pictures. I don't have the Will Decimal System. I have like a handful of screenshots of the different cats saved on my phone. And I have it in a folder. And I go to that. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to throw. This is my one Gus picture to use for this particular thing. And some of them work and some of them don't. And then I make a bunch and just throw them in drafts. And then every once in a while, I'm like, I haven't posted something in a while. I'm going to throw that one out.
That's pretty much what we're doing just on a smaller scale. So
it's fun. I mean, it's fun too, because I mean, what I love about you all is I have a very narrow like set of jokes that I'm going after. You're going after theater, so you have a lot of like you can see something and go, oh, that would land there with this show. And I'm like, there's only so many ways I can tie this to cats after a while.
It's relatable.
Let's pivot to cats. What's your favorite cats meme you've made?
Okay, wait, before we do this, can I ask you, okay, so when you first reached out to us and I told you that we couldn't do the podcast yet because I had a cat's NDA.
Yes.
You figured out why? I'm just curious.
I have not.
Okay. What if I told you that
are you on the part of the ballroom one?
No.
Okay.
What if I told you that I'm the Rachel that you'd been in correspondence with?
You are the Rachel.
That's the Rachel.
for the
Wait, you're the Rachel. Wait,
I am. I've been waiting for you to figure. I feel like a couple of times you'd gotten so close, and I was like, he's gonna call me on it. Okay, so if you're listening,
it's even funnier is because I didn't realize that you talk to Joanna.
Yes.
I didn't know Yo was in charge of that. And every time you responded back to me, being like, I have to ask my boss. I'm like, I've known Joanna. She worked at the network. I've known Joanna forever since I started the network. And so I was like, wait, that is really funny. I did not put that together
that so
at all.
funny? Okay, so like, so when you're talking about liking some of the Cats content, it's because I, and sometimes in adjacent to Will, made it.
I love it. That is so funny. All this time I kept early on. I'm like, when I first started I had 3 goals of this show, and this because I was only supposed to do 10 episodes. I had 3 goals of the show. One was to actually have some people listen that wasn't just my family. Like, was anybody even going to listen to this? Because I wasn't sure at first because I didn't know anything about the show. 2 is I was hoping that the Broadway people would enjoy it, and like the Cats community group people would like latch onto it or like it. So I was like, will the Cats actual account ever follow me or like it or ever see it? Like, is there any moment that or like, will Andrew Lloyd Webber or like any of this stuff, will there ever be that version of it? And then the third was kind of a subplot, is I really wanted to anger a fan who missed the joke, which I did very early on.
Immediately, I'm sure.
I was really hoping that happened a lot, because I was like, because it's funny to me if someone's just like doesn't realize the parody of it and gets like real into it, which I know there's very passionate fans. So that happened like 2 episodes
welcome to our whole internet lives.
But I love it, because I just always reply back with another joke, and most of the time they get it. It's very rare anybody like stays angry, but that is so. Yeah, when you first replied, I'm like, oh my god, they finally recognized me. And then we did something together on the tour in DC, and I was like, we finally are doing this. And it's so strange to me now that I've heard from other shows that like in the rehearsal process they're using the podcast as a way to hear how other people approach the characters and
education.
So totally. What went from literally a meme I made about myself standing at what looked like a TED Talk as a joke has turned into now 120 plus episodes. Kind of documenting the history of the show through a parody lens is still wild to me. I never thought it'd go past 10. I didn't agree past 10, and here we are today.
That's showbiz, baby.
So you're officially done, because as we're recording this, they are finishing in Hawaii right now.
I know. I need to sort of figure out how we're wrapping everything up, because I still have some stuff on deck, and certainly the cast is posting a lot of content just about this last weekend and figuring out how to sort of like wrap everything up. But just like a little bit of the backstory, I don't want to waste anybody's time. And if you're listening right now and you're confused, okay, so I've been running the Cats official Instagram / Twitter, Facebook, social media, online presence. Thank you.
And Rachel and I have been talking basically like daily for
LOL. Yeah, exactly. Since November. So I took over in November. I had been, it's like through Spacco, which is a Broadway marketing agency. I'd been freelancing for them as like a community manager. So on certain shows, I log in, I answer comments, questions, share stories, that kind of thing, which is like in my wheelhouse because of the Theater Lovers. I got the job because of the Theater Lovers, which is very cool and something I would have never expected. Last November, they were kind of having a shakeup with their content creators, their social media managers, and they asked if I would take over Cats. And I was very intimidated by it because it's such a huge theater thing. Yeah. And full disclosure, going in, it was not my favorite musical. And we'll sort of talk about this a little bit later, where like Will is the Cats guy. And I've always just sort of been like, I could take it or leave it. The songs are bops. I found the taping to be kind of like a nightmare. Certainly the movie, I was like, what is this? Yeah. What are we doing? So I was like, if you're cool with me, maybe not loving it, but understanding it, I'll definitely take it over. And I have grown to love it because of the interactions that I've had with the fans on the page, which is such a wild, something I would have never experienced, anticipated going in. But yeah, since November, I've been running the page and creating memes and videos, and I've had such a great time doing it. But I really was curious if you were when you had reached out to us, if you were gonna piece together that I was the Rachel that you'd been working with. So this is just so funny to me. I kind of love it. I feel like I pulled one over on you.
You did. I think the part of it was like I've always tried to balance being like poke fun of the show, but also be positive of it.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot of times where I tag some stuff where I've tagged the official cast and I'm like, this is kind of like a little mean at times, like it can be a little, so I'm like, are they, but I know I know how most people kind of view the show. And so like, I always just assumed, but so little was shared to me beside like with that. It was just like, oh, it's Rachel here. She runs it, just messaged. And we just kind of went on Instagram back and forth. And it was just like, to me, I was talking to cats. Like, I was like, it wasn't a person. And then it was when Joanna told me that, I'm like, because you kept saying you have to get some stuff approved from Joanna. And I'm like, and I would have just messaged Joanna myself.
It wasn't even Joanna, although like she's amazing. She's so good. It was actually the theatrical group that, like, essentially I have a whole string of bosses that I would have to clear everything with. And Joanna was just sort of like the one above me. And sort of, she mentioned this when you interviewed her, that a lot of times it was just spell check. Like she was just making sure I was spelling things right. And sentences made sense. But there's like a whole hierarchy of people all the way up to like really useful group that had to sort of like make sure, which is why we went back and forth so much, where it's like, oh, I love this idea, but I don't think it's going to fly with them. But I will say, for all the people that I've sort of freelanced for, they've allowed me to have the most fun, and they really understood like sort of where I'm coming from as a content creator and like memes, and sort of like they let me do a lot of things that other people wouldn't necessarily, which is fun.
They're great. They are protective. I did a fundraising event with the touring cast for like a reunion, and it was a lot of like hurdles and clearance, and nothing bad, but just like, oh, let's make sure we're respecting it. And that's where it's kind of fun for me, is like I've always wondered, like, do I want to talk to an Andrew Lloyd Webber if he'd ever even consider it? But I'm like, my whole show, I have hundreds of episodes basically telling him that his ending is wrong. And so it's like, do I really, like, that's my premise, is I want to change.
Famously great at criticism, Andrew.
So like every time it's like, oh, if he does learn of it, I'm like, yeah, but that's my criticism. Even as parody, that's the criticism. So it was an early kind of delicate balance of like, hopefully people see the fandom and parody in it, and not just like because I do want a different ending. Like I firmly believe it deserves a different ending, and that makes it interesting as I've talked to more super fans, because they're like, don't even like the revival choreography, and I'm like, I couldn't tell you the difference between the two choreographies to begin with.
Yeah, very, very protective of the version that they love, for sure. But okay, so to answer your question, I know, tangent.
No, it was a great tangent.
My favorite thing that I've made personally, and sort of going along with the podcast and sort of the whole ethos of all of this, was there was when that Zoolander trend was happening a few months back, where it was Derek Zoolander walking out onto like a red carpet, and then he sees Hansel and then realizes, that things aren't going the way. My favorite thing that I've made was a label of that, where it was like the other cats thinking that they're going to the Heaviside lair, and then in walks in Grisabella. I thought that was so funny. That's personally my favorite thing that I've made.
Yeah.
I think for me, it would be like a who would win. And it says like the entire company of cats, or one audience member going pss, 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 pss. And like, was it that, or was it a laser pointer, or like
it might have been
a laser pointer?
It doesn't matter.
That's great.
The thought is there either way. But
now I'm trying to blank on which there's one, but there's one you made that every time I see it, I'm like, I have to reshare it. It makes me laugh every time, and it's cats related. And now I'm trying to blank on which one it is, and it was related to Grisabella. It was another like Grisabella coming in.
Was it like through the ceiling?
Yes, that's that one every time.
She's hanging up in the ceiling all of Act 2, the rest of Act 2.
I see that one. Because I didn't realize, again, as I learned stuff, I didn't realize that Grisabella's on stage for 15 minutes of a 2.5-hour show, which is wild.
Yeah, Princess Track.
Yeah. So that was great.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died.
Okay, let's pivot to your Cats fandom. It seems like we had a mixed bag, but now we've got two lovers of it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about, when was the first time you saw it?
I saw it I saw the VHS tape, as a kid, and my sister and I would just like jump around the family room as it played, and kind of like that, and Step in Time from Mary Poppins would just amp us up so much, and our parents would be like, okay, like we need you to burn out some energy. Here you go. And we would just like have so much fun dancing to it and singing it and playing it in the car. And eventually my dad took us to see it on Broadway before it closed. And I don't know the exact date. We didn't keep the playbill for it at the time, so I really don't have a sense of when.
But there's a picture of you in the T-shirt, and you're young.
Yeah. It's I think the photo is dated like 99 or 2000.
Yeah, because the movie came out in 98, and so that's kind of, and it closed early 2000,
September 2000, I think.
Yeah, like it closed pretty quickly after, so you had a short window to go see it. And are you both from this area, from the New York area? Or did you come to New York?
She's from Chicago.
Yeah, from the suburbs of Chicago.
Yep.
And I'm from the suburbs of Pittsburgh.
So you like took a trip for this.
We took a trip. Mm-hmm. It was a little pilgrimage to go see a bunch of 40-something cats jump around.
That is, I love that. That's the New York trip is like, we're coming in, and you have loved the show. You've danced around to this VHS that we're going to take a trip to New York and go see Human Cats on Broadway.
And then you were in it twice.
And I was in it twice. I was in a student production in high school, and I was Rum Tum Tugger. And in retrospect, I'm like, I don't know how that was me. And then I was in a professional production as a swing, which was the hardest role I've ever done in anything. It was insane.
Who did you cover?
I covered everybody except Old Deuteronomy.
Bummer.
Wow. It was like, that would have been like a regional.
Yeah.
That would have been ideal.
But it was January, and everybody in the company just kept getting sick. So as there were staging rehearsals, I would be taking notes for everybody, but also holding somebody's spot mid-rehearsal as they are figuring it out. So it was just insane. And then one rehearsal I was in for Old Deuteronomy, and I was like, I can't believe they're going to make me sing the addressing of cats. It's like, I'm just a swing. When
you did a high school production, what do they tell you of the story?
They were, I mean, the bones of it, that's like, the Old Deuteronomy is going to choose which of these cats gets to go to kitty heaven. Kitty heaven was always the phrase that the director would use. But and it was kind of sarcastic, but like there wasn't exactly a clearer way to put it.
That's been the most surprising part of this whole journey for me, is I didn't realize, like, you see it and you can kind of see it's pretty sexual, and there's some like the dance is it falls in that realm. But I think about like a high school age kid, and then you think about Victoria's solo is basically her having an orgasm on stage, and the ball's an orgy, and Demeter's being sexually abused, and all this like deep background of what the characters are going through. And then I'm like, and we're going to go do it in high school, or we're going to go do it as like 9-year-olds. And it's like, what do you tell them? like how do you give them the essence of their character to go play when that's the actual answer to the question?
Because you had said in a previous podcast that after, like, in 24 hours after you had seen it originally, you were like, this is not, like, kids should not see this.
The whole time I was in there, I was like, it was the first moment that I was like, and I was sitting next to children. The first time I saw it was the last preview of 2016, or second last preview. My friend got sick, who got me the tickets for free. It was a friend who works on Broadway, couldn't come. I had lived in New York for like 3 weeks. Knew nobody really, and not the people I knew. It wasn't like, hey, in 2 hours, do you want to go see Cats with me? That wasn't going to be my first impression to some of my new coworkers and friends. And so I went by myself, and it was like a rainy Saturday, and I was sitting next to two international people that were there, which I thought was like great. I was like, this is the smartest thing for like, this is why I think it's so successful, is like, you can be from anywhere and it's kind of such a loose plot that you're just going to enjoy really cool singing and dancing.
Yeah.
I had, to my other side, I had 2 nuns, which was very like funny because I, had just moved from Indiana, and then I had kids around me everywhere. And this is pre-COVID, and they're doing the green eyes where they come through. But the moment that it was like, this is a lot, is in Tugger's song. There are 3 cats, and at least in this choreography I've seen, there's 3 cats that are on their knees right in front of him, and he like basically crotch thrusts in their face. And I'm like, that's pretty sexual for what's 5-year-old sitting in front of me, like that. And then it's like, then I've learned all this other stuff, and you can see that like it's a lot. And then they murder a cat at the end. Like, the more I started going, I'm like, now I'm a little bit more softened on it. Of the up until teenage years, you're probably fine because all the sexual stuff's going to go over your head. You're not going to recognize it. It's just cats dancing. But that 13, 14 to 18 range, you're probably picking up on most of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a decision. It's a decision to go. But I'm more fascinated by how they like project to do it as kids for dancing or for high school or even regional. I had somebody on recently who did it as a 10-year-old in a regional production, and it's like they were playing one of the kittens. And it's like, God, that's got to be so hard to kind of tell all the adults in the production this backstory, and then you've got to kind of almost protect the innocence of a 10-year-old that's doing this. And it is it's a real life type of like, there's nothing crazy about it. There's stories that should be told, but it's one that is so child-based because of the cats aspect, and then the story's so dark. And the movie was kind of dark. The new movie, the 2019 movie, was kind of dark.
Super dark.
It's like, yeah, this is what it could be or should be if you really look at it. And it's to me, it's just an interesting debate. I didn't go as a kid. My mom took my sister. I don't think either of them cared too much for it. And then I knew Memory.
Did they start a podcast?
Nope, they didn't. I didn't even know. Yeah, it was a little early for that. It was probably in the 90s. So there wasn't, they didn't have the microphone set up.
They're just tapes.
Yeah, they're just they're VHS tapes somewhere buried. No, I don't think either of them cared about it. My sister didn't do a lot of theater either. And but my mom's a music teacher, and that's where she plays the piano and played Memory and some of that stuff. But then it was like, I never, again, thought about it, knew about it or anything until 2016, because I asked my friend, I'm here now, what should I go see that's like classic? Because I hadn't seen anything that was like very classic. I had seen more of like the Book of Mormons, and like, I always call them the tourist shows, like the stuff where what can I bring my friends from Indiana who aren't theater people, who don't know? I had seen those. I was like, well, I'm here, let's go on a random Tuesday to these other things, which is the beauty of being in New York. Yeah, and totally. I ended up at Cats as one of my first ones, and it was Leona Lewis, and it was an experience.
Unbelievable.
But and now I'm talking to the Cats social media people.
Yeah.
So here we are. What a journey it's been.
Honestly, okay, yeah. So that's Will's backstory. My backstory is I've literally never seen it on stage.
Never.
I was supposed to see this tour. I was going to take a trip to Chicago to see them, and I was going to visit family. And then it was like somebody in my family had gotten sick, and it was like a whole thing. And then I ended up not being able to go. I honestly, for a second, thought about seeing them in Hawaii. I really did. I was like, should I just?
What a terrible place to end your tour.
I know. Well, oh my God. I DM'd them, and I was like, are you sure you don't want anybody to like cover the last like the tour? Like you don't want to like post me up in Hawaii? But no, it's really not that deep. But no, I've never seen it in person. I've seen the filmed, like the pro shot. I've seen the 2019 film. And then my mom growing up, my family, it's very funny. I'm such a little odd duck in my family because they're all like sports people. And I like came out of the womb like I love musical theater, whatever that is. My mom had like a best of Andrew Lloyd Webber CD. And I can't remember exactly what was on it, but I know like
I have a cassette tape of it right over here.
It's probably the same one, like Memory, and then probably like one or two other songs from Cats. Yeah. So like that's what I grew up knowing, and then I knew it's based on the poems, the Book of Poems. It's Andrew Lloyd Webber. it's Cats and that it ran for a really long time. Like that was all.
That's
and then like the
know.
reference, the pop culture references to it. But yeah, I've still never seen it on stage. I'm really sad that I didn't get to see this touring cast because I feel like a very like parasocial, obviously in like a healthy way, but it's like I've interacted with them and watched them do lives and like, like shared their content. So it's like I feel like I know all of them. It would be very fun to see them do this tour, but it just didn't pan out.
They were such a fun group of people. I had a blast going to meet them and hang out with them for basically 2 days. And, what's crazy about this is I don't think a lot of people know this, but I've still only seen the show 4 times on stage. I saw Leona Lewis. I saw it a year later. My friend came back and was like, we've got to go see it. I know you're obsessed. I'm like, I'm not obsessed. I made one joke about this. And because of it, and I just like thought about it, but we went again because they flew in from Indiana for work, and then they wanted to see one show and they wanted to see Cats. I had not seen it again until I went to the tour, and I went to
and
DC. I saw it twice because I filmed with them right before, which was my dream, was to give them ideas to go take on stage.
I thought that was so cool. Cool.
I gave about half like very traditional, here's what some fans think, and I gave about half like, there's nobody else that said this, but this is something I think could be really interesting. Let me know if it works. Sure. And then I came back, we watched it, and it was cool because like I could see at moments I was like, oh, you could see them trying that, like, because it was like we were in a very good seat to watch it, and I was with my producer, and then I went the next day to film again with how did it go. But to do that, it was like, they're so busy, and like I was trying to be really mindful of like, they're on tour, they're busy, they're doing shows. On Saturday they're going to do 2 shows. Like, how can I do this? So I just showed up like an hour before and came right before they like went on, as they were like doing makeup, and did that quick video of like, did this work or did it not? And then I just stayed for the show after.
Cool.
So I've seen it 4 times. I've seen the 2019 movie 1.5 times. The half was during COVID with my family.
That's the appropriate amount of times.
And they couldn't do it. And I have not really sat down to watch it again.
Did they make it to Jason Derulo screaming milk at the top of his lungs? Or
they did. I think, where did we cut off? It was about halfway through. It was like, again, it was during COVID. It was like peak COVID of where you were like, what content's left? Like, we had watched Tiger King, The Last Dance, Jordan thing. Like, we've watched everything. And I was like, let's watch this movie tonight. And about halfway through, they're like, does this get any better? And I go, no, it doesn't. It's about this level the whole way through. And they turned it off.
This is a good representation of the rest
Cavity, of the cat who is repeatedly said to not be there. He's actually there quite
all
a
the
lot.
time.
So
all the time, yeah. Yeah. And then I've only seen the 1998 movie full through twice.
Okay, yeah.
And the first time was on a work trip on a plane on an iPad. And I was sitting on the plane, and I took the window seat. I'm like trying to hide it at one point because I was usually just sitting on the table in front of me or whatever you're watching. And I'm like, this is going to be a weird one because I'm in business casual, like with my work stuff with me. And all of a sudden I pull out this iPad and throw it up on there, and it just started, and everyone around me started looking, and I'm like, I'm going to turn this a little bit. And I watched, that was the first time I ever watched it full through, was on a plane. I forget where I was going, but on a plane. And because it's what's on YouTube. So when I did my first episodes, it was I just watched clips from it. I didn't realize it was from that movie. That's just what's on the official Cats page. Yeah. So I finally watched the full sitting through on a plane, and then went and had a very deep conversation about digital marketing with somebody, which was a hard pivot, but it was a very funny, like, if everyone kind of thinks sees what people are watching, what they're doing. And you sometimes are like, oh, that's kind of fun. I've seen that show. Or I know that. I had some looks of like, what is this guy doing watching this version right now on a work trip, clearly.
That's so funny.
But yeah. And now I've recorded with 25 productions and regional productions and all kinds of stuff.
Which episode is this? This is like
120. I can tell you the exact number. This will be probably 123.
Wow. Good for you.
And that doesn't include some bonuses and some other stuff that we've done. And still going strong.
I'm trying to think if there's a more chaotic thing to watch on a plane. Like
the 2019 Cats movie.
I guess so. But maybe not even because it's so dark.
That's true.
I feel like if I were sitting on a plane and saw, like, if I were like looking, what would be a more? I think that's it.
One time I was on the subway. It was the L at like 2 a.m. as I was getting off of a restaurant job, and this man. There's that time before the L actually starts from 8th Avenue. And this man gets on in a black suit, black tie, pitch black sunglasses. He sits down, puts a briefcase, like a metal briefcase, on the seat next to him, opens it up. There's a portable DVD player in there, and he starts playing Men in Black from the middle. And I was like, what is... This is a 2 a.m. L train moment.
Oh man, I've had some subway moments as I've lived here since 2016, and you see some stuff. And
I guess the only thing that could have made your flight better is if you had been dressed as
in cat, full in the costume. I think what makes it strange is like they're in costume, so and it's not cartoon. It's like it's human and cats, and I love all the videos. I think your cast has shared some, but like when they do 2 show days and they don't get out of makeup and they just put a hat on and go to work to lunch dinner before their other show. It's like, they're gonna get some looks.
Well,
but that's it is what it is. Some people will get it. Some people will get it, other people will be everything I said. I just talked to the he went to the Eras tour for Taylor Swift in Bombay Arena. He was so funny, and I didn't even think about it because he wore that on the subway basically to the train to go there. And I'm like, I've seen so many weirder things, like the Men in Black things. Like you see it, it's like he's like, but that's not you. He's like, it's different when everyone's looking at you. I was like, oh, that's such a good point. Like I've sat down next to somebody dressed in not cat. It was more of like they had a cat mask on, but this wasn't like, it was like a full-on headgear, ears, everything. I was like, it was past when most people are wearing them for COVID, so I think it was more of a decision. Just sat down right next to me, and I'm like, that's New York.
I was going to say that's the beauty of New York, though. It's like you'll get maybe one look, but not a second one.
No, I mean, you definitely get the looks. I would be watching Men in Black with that guy for sure. Yeah. Although I'd be a little concerned at first. I'd be like, if he's in full getup, did he try to erase your memory?
I don't remember.
He wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's true. You wouldn't know.
Wouldn't know. Still remembered me. That's good.
Yeah. That would have been what I would have done. I would have brought that thing out. If you're going to commit to the bit, you got to go in. Okay, let's do some Cats rapid fire.
Yeah.
If you could play any cat character for one night, who do you want to play?
I would want to play Monkastrap. That was the role that I was like, he's just got like so many good like presentational moments. I think it just seems so fun.
Did you get to go on as him as Swing?
No, I never got to go on as Monkastrap, but that's the one that I was like, ooh, I really I'm praying for everyone's safety, but this would be fun.
Nice. Rachel, what about you?
I think I my girl Grizz. I think Grizzabella, Princess Track. Come on, sing the song.
Just
call
belt,
it a day. Yeah, I think
come in a little bit in the first.
And
act.
I love that makeup. I don't know. I think she's so interesting. Or old dude. You know, I'm a big fan of sitting. I sit. I also like I guess I've never considered any of the dancing tracks because it's not my gig. It's not what I do. So it seems a little intimidating. But Grizzabella all the way. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I can't sing or dance, so this is more of like theoretically.
Okay, in a perfect world.
Yeah. I'm not. This is not my.
Oh, you know what? I'd love to do the Mungo Jerry Rumple teaser cartwheel.
The cartwheels?
I think that would be so sick. But just that one moment. If I could do one like Creed from The Office, like one perfect cartwheel.
That part's fun because it's the only time you're by yourself basically on stage. Like they get their moment, whereas everyone else is, and besides Grizz, is always like, here's all of us together at one time.
It's an on stage the whole show for most of the cast.
Yeah. And it was fun. Taryn and Brian were like so good on the tour doing it, and it was fun to watch them do that. I've
seen the footage. It's outrageous.
Yeah. Okay, who are your favorite and least favorite cats from the musical? I know everyone's got one. I like
to always have a silly answer where it's like, like Pouncival, of course, but like I know that more just because the names are so fascinating, but oh gosh,
My favorite is Jason Derulo screaming milk at the top of his lungs.
Okay.
And my least favorite is Idris Elba when he takes off his coat and then he looks naked. That's my least favorite.
That's not how cats work.
I'm sorry. It's Judi Dench making eye contact with the audience at the end of the film is my least favorite.
That was the moment of the. I mean, that was a moment where I'm like, this is a decision.
Yeah, that was wild, wild.
And it would have honestly, it wouldn't have been so jarring if it were not a close up.
Yeah,
a lot of my thing with Tom Hooper is like you can step back. Like it seems like he's a close talker because everything is shot in a close-up all the time.
Yeah, that's one of my least
Mm-hmm.
favorite things about musical theater directing for film is like everything is just too zoomed in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't understand why more. I'm not in the industry to know how any of this works, but as a viewer, especially like the 2019 movie, I'm like, just zoom out and let me watch the dancing. Like, why can I not just have
the pictures? Yeah,
or give me
the stage pictures.
Stick a camera at orchestra center row J and wide lens it and let people watch it the way it was intended.
In the 30s, Fred Astaire and Hermes Pan were like, you need to show the entire dancer to appreciate dance on film. You can't shoot people from the waist up because you lose half of the performance.
Yeah.
And
unless you're shooting Kermit the Frog tap dancing, and then that's how you have to shoot it.
Yeah.
You don't have to shoot it that way. It's just, it makes it easier. But there are times.
Are you implying that Kermit the Frog is actually tap dancing and they're just being lazy?
You don't think he's actually tap dancing there? No, there's a technique. If you look up the Muppets Happy Feet on YouTube, it's a Hollywood Bowl performance where they do have puppeteers for the feet, and it is, but it's not so fun to watch.
But we're talking about film. See, this is what we do every morning. Yes. This is a theater lover sneak peek.
But what is cool about that Hollywood Bowl clip is that you do see the performers, and they are in like not a green screen full bodysuit, but it's like black, so they blend in, and everything is projected. So you are seeing the performers in person, and you're seeing the projection of it. Like a camera would see, and like they could do that.
We got wildly off topic.
I think you should have. I think you have a template that you can use in the Will Decimal System. You need to search waist up. If you have waist up, and that can be your next thing of like you've lost the feet.
It's a where did they go?
What do you have from there?
Did you say most and least favorite cats?
I think my favorite is Skimbleshanks because I do love his. I love that song every time it happens. It's like in the perfect spot where you need a pickup.
Yeah.
Least favorite, I think it's gotta be Growl Tiger for just the issues.
Yeah. Yeah. I never saw the Growl Tiger, so but yes, I'm aware of the issues.
7,485 times all that happened.
Yes. Okay. What's your favorite song from the show?
My favorite melodic line, and it's enough to propel the whole song for me. In the addressing of cats, that melody of with cats, some say one thing is true. That is a beautiful ascending melody. I love it.
I love it. That's great.
I go back and forth all the time. I'm such a Misto girly. So Mr. Mistopheles, and I feel like the three that I sing the most are Mr. Mistopheles, Rum Tum Tugger, and just your classic Jellicles Are and Jellicles Do.
Those are the three you sing the most. Wow.
Yeah.
I like it.
They're also the three that I would use the most in stories too, and probably just in the content in general. I'm biased.
Yeah, I
create little parodies of them all the time. I'm just like throwing random words, and I don't know. I don't know how like I said, my brain's very chaotic. So
I listen to McCavity and Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser probably the most.
Ooh.
Like in terms of just listen to.
Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser got a little bit ruined for me because Will's sister Beth, I guess. Do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, I would love to. When one of the times that we did Cats, she had a crush on the guy that played Mungo Jerry, and so one of the times we were talking about it, she just started singing Mungo Jerry and Beth.
That's like the only. I walk around the house singing it all the time. I'm like Mungo Jerry and Beth. So it's like it's ruined. It is what it is.
Improved on T.S. Eliot.
Shout out to Beth, a real one.
Cats have 3 names. One might be Beth.
That's so iconic. That's so good.
There's a cat named Peter. Why not a cat named Beth? Peter's
my least favorite. That's my answer.
Good.
It's always been my answer. Is Peter's my least favorite. It's Bus Gus's dancing cat in the beginning, and that's
Got it.
And it's only in 2016 because they have different names in other versions. Yeah. And so it's like Christopher Gurr. I was like, you are my choice of Gus, but also my least favorite choice is Peter.
We hate Peter.
Peter, there's also Gilbert in a couple of productions. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's some choices. I just learned about one. I don't know if the episode will be out yet. But they nicknamed a generic ensemble cat that just danced the open number, and they had this cat come in and didn't have a name, and so they kind of made up names for him every night, and it was just like it wasn't even like a costume. It was just like a generic onesie and a different makeup pot just to have another body to dance. I was like, that's really what Peter is. Yeah. But it's over the years. Yeah, you just need someone to dance. Mm-hmm. Which cat do you think would be the best content creator? I've thought about this a lot, so I have a lot of answers to this question.
Can I see the list?
Yeah. We'll print it because he printed out a whole list.
I was like, because I know I'm going to forget names. I was like, oh gosh, Jelly Lorem, what?
Okay, I'm gonna show my hand a little bit, and what so the cat that Taylor Swift played in the movie,
Ballerina.
Maybe her.
She's a good answer. She would definitely be.
I feel like she's got a lot of time on her hands too, right?
Yeah.
So
she'd be TikToking for sure.
For sure.
Every dance.
I guess it depends on what platform are we talking about.
I think there's I have answers for all of them.
I think she's a TikTok queen.
She's doing all the dances on TikTok.
No, Instagram. She's got that like the bedazzled catnip. She's a lifestyle influencer through and through. That's my vote.
I think Mr. Mistopheles would be really good with video editing for TikTok.
Yeah,
he'd
magic.
Be so good. Yeah.
We want to talk about AI.
Yeah.
I'd be like, how'd he do that?
It's a Chat GPT.
Yeah, I love that.
That's really fun.
I've got a couple others of you.
Yeah, hit us.
What else do you have? I think Busford Jones is a cooking influencer.
Ooh.
Oh, for sure.
I could see him doing, just his recipes and cooking there. And he's got the money, so he's got a, amazing kitchen. Mm-hmm. I think you could potentially have Gus telling old stories like an old actor.
He's just a theater cat.
That. But I feel like that's a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
that's not a TikTok.
Show Queens.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then I could see I'm not sure which one. It's probably like a Tumble Brutus or a Pouncival or Alonzo, one of those kittens. I just think they're going to be a trick shot artists. Like how those people spend hours doing stuff.
Totally.
To get the one moment.
Yeah,
I feel like
they do a compilation of them all back to back. So satisfying.
That's where they're going.
Yeah, I totally see that. Oh, those are so good.
I thought of one more. Who'd be doing all of the TikTok dances and always in the exact moment is Jenny Anydots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
If she's kind of lazy at times though, so it's like if she just she's the one that's a sporadic posting. It's like she'll catch one of the trends. But
she takes the most joy in it.
Yeah,
she's infectious because you're like, I want to see more, and
the fan engagement is always crazy because she's got mice and roaches,
the cockroaches.
But there's a lot of those.
Yeah, she's got a built-in following.
Yeah.
Okay, the $1 million question.
Yeah,
I've argued I don't think it should be Grisabella. I want to hear, are you going to defend Grisabella or are you going to make a different Jellicle choice?
You go first.
I I like to ask the question in theater, is this a good character or is this a good song?
Oh.
Don't confuse a good song with a good man.
We that started with Freddie from My Fair Lady with On the Street Where You Live, where it's like, he's still very dumb. And he's demonstrated several times he and Eliza Doolittle are not a good fit. But because his song is so convincing and it's very romantic, you forget that he is just standing outside a woman's house who he talked to once. And he's like, I'm obsessed with you, holding up a boombox like in Say Anything. And she's like, I don't want to come outside, man.
Yeah. You were not invited.
The maid has to be like, you need to go. Yeah. But it's a good song, so everyone forgets about that. Grisabella, I think Memory really is a great song that makes a better argument than her circumstances do.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know who I would pick, though. Because I want to go like Skimbleshanks, who I love his song, and I love how... You know what? Let's make it Skimbleshanks, because he deserves a break.
He needs rest.
Taking care of everybody, yeah.
He's working on a train,
and
he has full range of where to be in the train, but
he's still at work.
Yeah. His home and workplace are the same, and that's exhausting. Let him rest.
I think that's great.
That's insane. I also believe the wrong cat died. I think it's so wild that she finally gets redemption and everybody's cool with her, and then she's immediately brutally murdered in some way. I mean,
just catapulted into the sky.
Yes.
I mean, we don't know that she's...
Saddest cat rides tire into sky.
Yeah.
No, I think that's so wild. She's like, let the memory live again for the next 60 seconds until I'm gone forever. Mm-hmm. What are we talking about? So I'm a Gus girly. I think you want to talk about somebody who needs rest. It's my sweet Gus.
So as much more theater knowledgeable people than me, is that argument that she should go, like that she should stay with the family, has that been something you'd heard before? Because I've been saying that for probably the past year and a half, and I'm wondering, like, I always wonder, am I influencing this?
I think you are the cat's influencer.
Or is there, like, because I know the tipping point was they started to bring on younger Grisabellas, and so my introduction wasn't and not like old, but much more of like a they've had a longer career Grisabellas that were in the 80s and 90s versus now it's like Taylor's in her young 20s. Sure. And that's been a consistent trend. And that's most of my introduction were people that were 30s at oldest, like 20s and 30s. And I'm like, they look so young, even though they're trying to, like, she doesn't need to be murdered. Like, let her spend time with the family. So I've been saying that as my Gus, like my true Gus argument for a while is that. But I never heard that before. But I also don't know anything about cats prior to 2016. So I was like, was that a theme that people were thinking about? Or did nobody even make this question to begin with? And I'm the only person asking it because I'm crazy.
I think part of that is that the economics of how touring casts work have changed. And pretty much from 2000 to today, which is also the amount of time Cats has not been on Broadway. Like from, what it was, Cats closed in 2000. That was also the same season as the Music Man revival, which its national tour went out non-equity, and equity changed the rules of certain types of national tours so that they could ensure that they always go out equity. Mm-hmm. And that did mean that touring casts tended to skew much younger as a result, which changes who plays Grisabella and how that story is told.
Yeah.
It's an economic decision that has shifted how we view and process these stories.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure it's happening in a lot of other different shows as well. Like, it's just happening across the board. If you have, like, you're not going to have, like we were talking about Kimberly Akimbo, of like how this could be really interesting when that goes out on tour or later in the world of like opening up the door to this, this aging actress that can play this like iconic part, but also like if they brought somebody in for that, it kind of has to skew older in that show, but there's like it changes the story. And I've always like, my whole thing with Cats is I don't even look at it as actors and people. I'm like, no, I want to talk about where did Grisabella go when she left? Like parts that's not in there, like purely plot. Yeah, purely plot line stuff that's like probably never even thought about or wasn't discussed at that type of detail.
Hal, it's about cats.
I was like, exactly. I want to go deep into the rest of the world created. And so it makes it interesting because like I do think that I have seen the numbers go down over time. It was a lot more Grisabellas early on. And I've now seen the numbers slowly trickle to where she's less than half of the people I talk to.
I think you've made a very compelling argument. I think it's really what it is.
I want to do a version. I know they're going to do the ballroom version in that new place. And it's going to be awesome because it's going to be it's going to be different. Like it's going to be totally different. I was like,
I'm really excited about it.
There is a version, and the really useful group will never let me do it. But like, there's a version where you could go to a regional theater and vote every night, and just have that person
Edwin
Drew style. Exactly. Yeah. There is that ability to make that story, and I think it would be amazing. And I want it. I want to see it happen, but they're never going to let me because it's 42 years old and has had success for 42 years.
I'd say never say never. Yeah. I mean, they're letting them do a ballroom version.
That's true.
I feel like
I also have zero ability to direct, produce,
it would dance, be an absolute metric ton of work. Yeah,
I pretty much can just tell you that outline of an idea, and we'll need to hand it to somebody else who actually knows what they're doing in the industry.
Sure.
But that's my dream still.
I love that idea. I think that's amazing.
One of my other dreams y'all allowed me to do, which was to go tell the cast ideas to go try on stage.
Yeah, and that was more fun. So cool. I can't take any credit for that. I was just watching you do it and reporting on it.
I had so much fun doing that, and the conversations were hilarious. I mean, the stuff that didn't even make it in, like we had to cut a bunch of the stuff out because we filmed for probably like hours to talk to everybody and to pull out the snippets that were fun. It was like 10 episodes into one.
Yeah. I want to shout out the touring cast. I think that they're just all amazing. And
all amazing.
Yeah. I just wanted to say hi and thanks for letting me be a very, very small part of the journey.
They were an amazing group of people. I mean, not just the cast was amazing. The production team who like helped out, like everybody involved just made it so easy to work with, which is like, I wasn't sure how easy I was at the beginning. Cause I would answer at nights. Like I was responding during odd hours when I wasn't working and it's like when they're on stage, so it's like the opposite schedules, but they were great. Yeah. And it all ended up great. This has been amazing. How can people stay in touch with you all on social media and in general to keep up with all your amazing memes and hilarious content?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, good. You want to?
We are always named The Theater Lovers. On Instagram and TikTok, it's at @the_theater with an ER_lovers. And then on Twitter, it's just theater_lovers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
we got more stuff in the down the pipeline, so
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, follow.
I always love it. I'll be sharing anything you make, Cats. I'll be sharing, unless you want to just collab on more.
Yeah, no, that's great. And we're sitting on a lot of memes that we made, sort of thinking that they were going to be for the page that maybe were not quite a good fit. So. We'll tag you.
I love it. All the stuff that got rejected by your bosses are going to come out now on your channel.
Not even rejected. Some of them we made and we were just like, oh, we can't put this on the official page, but we can put it on ours. Yeah, I love it. So there's more Cats content coming for sure.
So excited.
A nice little pile of memes.
So excited. Thanks. Amazing.
Oh, thank you for having us on. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. We love what you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breaking down the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The Wrong Cat Died, or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.